Hey everybody, Brian here, back with the games that I beat for July and August 2021. End of summer, so the days are getting cooler and shorter, and that's a good thing, but I'm sad to see the good weather end. So I got quite a few games here, more than I thought. A lot of NES games again, including one that I've had since I was a kid and I've always wanted to beat, and one that I rented as a kid and I wanted to beat. I was able to mark those off the list of complete games, so very exciting. The first game I'm talking about is one that I've had since I was a kid and I always wanted to beat it, and that's Snake Rattle and Roll. This is a game by Rare, published by Nintendo, isometric platformer. You play as a snake and you eat these things called Nibbly Pibblies, and the whole goal of the game is you eat this Nibbly Pibblies and grow your tail longer, and once your tail glows, you can step on a scale. You find the scale, you step on the scale, it opens the exit somewhere in the world, then you go to the exit and go to the next level. So there's 9 levels that get progressively harder. The first 3, 4, they're good. You want to save your lives there. The last 3, very difficult. So I always ran out of continues until I got that last stage. This is a game I loved as a kid, and I still loved. I picked it back up recently to try to beat it and knock it off the list, and I can proudly say that I did. And I finally beat it after, oh god, when did I get this game? 1990, however long that was. Such a great feeling when you beat a game that you had as a kid or wanted to beat. I love this game. Even when if I couldn't beat it, I still love this game. The last level is ice mechanics. So what I did to beat it was I practiced with the Game Genie to give me unlimited lives so I could nail that part when I got to it. And it worked out, and I was able to beat it on my last life, I think. You have to hit this Bigfoot with your tongue constantly, or he heals. It's very tough. But I can't describe to you how happy I was when I beat this. And I actually did get it recorded. I was surprised that I had it recorded. I didn't think I would actually beat it on that run when I recorded it, but it is on my YouTube if you want to check it out. Yeah, Snake Rattle and Roll, great game. Controls are a little touchy with the isometric, but very fun game. And there's a sequel on Game Boy, which I never played, called Sneaky Snakes, which I'd like to play if I ever see it. Next up, these are in order of what I beat. Next up, we have Ghosts and Goblins. This is a game I never played as a kid. My experience with Ghosts and Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts is the Super Nintendo one I played first, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. That's when I finally beat this year. I had to leave my SNES on to beat it a few days. That was a great feeling to beat that one too. Not as good as Snake Rattle and Roll, but Super Ghouls and Ghosts is another game I always loved, but I wanted to really sit down and beat it, and I finally did. After that, I played the Genesis one, and I beat that one. It's a lot easier, I think. But that one was fun as well. I recently went to the arcade in Chicago, Galloping Ghosts, to visit my sister, and I played Ghosts and Goblins arcade there. And it's amazing how close the Genesis one is to that arcade game. They did a very good job in '89, I think, when that came out, because I was playing it, and besides the joystick, I remembered the layouts exactly. Sega did a great job capturing that. And the NES one, I never really played. I've heard it was very difficult, and for sure it is, but you have unlimited continues, which I love about these games. If a game's going to be hard, I think it's the least they can do is give you unlimited continues, and that's what this has. So if you're not familiar with Ghosts and Goblins, you basically have to beat it twice. So the first time through took me about 7 hours straight. So I went through, I beat the boss, and it said, this room is an illusion, go back and fight again. So then you have to go through it again. It's a little harder this time, and you have to get a special weapon, a shield weapon, to beat the last boss, or you can't beat the last boss. So the second playthrough took me about the same time, another 7 hours. So about 14 hours put into this game. The first time I've actually just played it for more than 5 minutes. And my final impressions on this game are, it's fun. I think if you want to beat the game, just go through it once. I think you get the feel of this game. There's some jankiness to it. There's some hard parts to it with the birds that pop out of nowhere. It's very difficult, but the unlimited continues help mitigate that. If you will put in the time, you can beat it. I found it enjoyable, but it's definitely not one of my favorite NES games, but I'm glad I beat it. I still, out of the 3 Ghosts and Goblins games I beat, I prefer Super Ghouls and Ghosts. There is a Game Boy or a Game Boy Advance version that I'd like to actually try to beat, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I have it, and I'd like to try to beat that one as well. So yeah, Ghosts and Goblins, if you want to tackle it, just go through it once. It's not much different the second time. A little harder, but not much. And you end up playing the levels so much that you memorize, and there's kind of a good feeling about that. So that's Ghosts and Goblins. Next up, we have an NES game I rented as a kid, and I always liked it, despite some problems, and I wanted to beat it, and I finally did, and that's a Werewolf, The Last Warrior. This is the game I rented from Video Visions, like a lot of games in Armagh, PA, where I grew up. I think I rented it once or twice, and I found it very hard, and it is hard. There's things the game doesn't tell you, and plus, besides that, B and A are reversed for jump and attack. So on many NES games, it's known that, for me, my preferable way, and lots of people, is A jumps and B shoots. That way you can kind of put your thumb on A to jump and then fire with B. So it's kind of second memory for me to do that. So this one, they reverse it. So B jumps and A shoots, and that takes a while to get used to. There's also some parts in this game where I think I got hung up as a kid. There's this part in the second level where there's these lasers that fire down. And you think, okay, there's a pattern to them. I can walk between the pattern of these lasers firing. But no, you cannot do that. If you do that, you'll lose a lot of health, and you won't beat the stage. What you have to do is do the backflip move, which is hit B and A together, and your werewolf jumps backwards like 3 or 4 times. And that makes you invincible to anything. So you can backflip through these lasers. And the thing is that the screen does not scroll if you backflip to it. So you have to wait for your werewolf to stop the animation, then it scrolls. And you got to very much time it so that you're not at a laser blast, or you'll get hit when the screen scrolls. There's that. There's also limited continues, which I hate on NES games. Even though they're short and hard, I think a lot of difficult NES games can be beat by pretty much anybody if you have unlimited continues. What makes this one tough is you don't have unlimited continues. So you have to really play each level lots and lots of times. One level in particular is the forest stage. The game is challenging, but nothing too overly difficult. It's difficult, but nothing too bad until you get to the 5th stage, the forest stage, and that's when the challenge really jumps up. The uneven difficulty really spikes at that level. There's platforms and stuff where jumps up randomly. There's not really a pattern, so you kind of have to know to react to certain parts of the stage, and anything will knock you into the water and you'll die. That stage took me about at least 20 tries, and that means I had to play the whole game up to stage 5 to do that part. Once you do that, the difficulty kind of evens out a little bit. I did beat this game on stream with my friend Richard watching it. He gave me some tips on beating the last boss, where to stand, so thank you, Richard. And yeah, I finally beat this game after renting it as a kid, and that feels good too. Not as good as Snake Rattle and Roll, because I didn't have this one growing up, but Werewolf, fun game, flawed game, like a lot of NES games. Challenging, very uneven difficulty, spikes right in the middle near the end. Still decent. Oh, I forgot to tell about what kind of game this is. This is a 2D platformer. You basically start out as a human. You want to hit signs and hidden objects to find red werewolf signs. They turn you into a werewolf, so you level up. And if you get another one, you turn into a super werewolf, which makes you jump higher and you're even more stronger. And that has a time limit you'll see tick down as a bar. So you kind of want to find where the werewolf icons are hidden by hitting signs. And in the forest stage near the end, you kind of have to hit randomly to find those signs to make the stage easier. If you do that, you can find the hidden signs. You'll time it towards the boss as a super werewolf, and you'll just annihilate the boss in a few hits. So that makes it easier. But fun game. Next up, we have a relatively new game. I think this came out in 2019, but this is the Switch version. This is Blasphemous. This is a Metroidvania, if you will. Basically what that means is a 2D platformer action exploration. So you see something like Metroid, basically. So you go along, you see something up, and you can't reach it, and you get an ability to let you reach it later, and you say, okay, there's something in your brain that says, okay, I can go back there and get it now. And it does that, and it triggers like a reward when you do that. Oh, I can go back to these places and get it. And this is a very good one. Very, very good game. The difficulty, much like a lot of these Metroidvanias, starts off difficult, but as you get more and more abilities, it gets easier. The look of this game is very edgy. It's very, very gory. It's almost like a European Catholic look to it, where everything's like church related and Catholic and like horror and like what's that? Latin kind of letters and stuff. The map is fantastic. The world's very well themed. The environments are very memorable. You can travel between them very well. It's very memorable to go to places. You remember where places are. It's not too big. The challenge is pretty high. And when I think I found out it had multiple endings, and that could be a plus, a minus for me. A lot of the Castlevania Game Boy games, actually, which they have multiple endings, but you don't. For me, they were very hard to find out, and I ended up beating them and saying, well, that's kind of underwhelming. And I find out years later that, hey, there's this item you have to actually wear in this one boss fight to actually unlock something to get the best ending. And that's kind of, I don't like that. But I was able to get the best ending the first time playing this game, and that's a plus for it. It made it, I will still knock that off of it for it, because it is missable. If you don't wear a certain item to beat these certain statues, you won't get the best ending, and I think that's a minus for this game, a big minus. Also, the story is kind of edgy, and I didn't really care for the story that much, but everything else about the game, the platforming, the fighting, the sound, the graphics, the atmosphere, the map, the play control, the exploration, the rewards of exploring, just made me want to finish it. I did finish this on stream, had a lot of people come in and help out, and just had a blast playing it. You can go through after you beat it. There's like DLC, where once you start up like with all your items and stuff with minus abilities and stuff, and I do want to do that sometime and restart New Game Plus. It's a great game. Blasphemous, highly recommended. Really, really good game. Next up, we have Run Saber. This is a action platformer by Atlas. I don't know if Atlas developed it or just published it. I didn't check into that. But it's similar to, like, you know how Strider has that arc blade. You can play as a boy and a girl, and you run to the right or left or down or vertically, and you can climb walls, and enemies come at you, and you swing and you attack them. You also have this double jump that can hit enemies, which is very useful. You have certain power-ups, which I can't remember right off of me, but you lose them when you die. So if you get a stockpile, it's in your benefit to just use them and not worry about them. Because if you die, say you have 8, you die and then you have none. So you want to stockpile those and use them because they'll get you out of tight situations. It's challenging. I think the difficulty in this game is just perfect. It's not easy. It's not hard. It's just right. The platforming's good. The controls are a little sticky, like you can grab and touch something, you'll just grab it without wanting to, but once you get over that, it plays really well. It looks good, sounds good. It's a decent game. I think I played it last year sometime, and I just couldn't get into it. This time I wanted to give it another shot, and I did like it enough to just go through it. I think I went through it twice, or maybe just once, I can't remember. But it was very fun. Run Saber, pretty decent. Next up, I guess I felt like more platformers, action platformers. This is Excalibur 2097. This is a game published by Activision. I don't know who developed it. I should have looked that up. I don't think Activision developed it, but it's action platformer, much like Run Saber, only it's more deliberate and you're not as fluid. You have like a fencing move with your sword, and you have a slash, and then you have another move. And depending on the enemy you want to use those. Some of the enemies, I felt like there was not much strategy to them. I just had to stab and hope I beat them. That was kind of bad. The music was, I think it was done by an actual band, and while it was okay, it wasn't nothing too memorable. The story was crazy, like futuristic stuff I don't understand. The last boss was very difficult. Most of the bosses in this game are the stopping gaps for me. They're very difficult for me. I never felt like I quite had the pattern down, and I felt like I got lucky a lot of times. Very challenging, more so than Run Saber, in bad ways, I think, with the bosses. I always, like I said, I felt like I just slashed and didn't really get the pattern down. That could be my problem, but Excalibur 2097, it's okay. It's not great. I don't know if I'll play it anytime soon, but it was fun enough for me to beat. Now this is a surprise. Arrow the Acrobat is a series. I played the first one a little bit, and so I was playing this on streaming it, and I wanted to give it another go. So I played it, and I kind of got Arrow the Acrobat. I got a few levels in. You have to get through sets of 4 levels to continue at the next 4. So you have to beat 4 levels and start the 5th. If you die anytime in there, you'll start back at the first set of levels, which means if you want to start the second stage, you have to beat 4 levels to get to the second set of 4, or you'll start back at 1. Basically, you have to find, like each stage will tell, like they give you a different objective. Jump through 5 hoops, jump on 5 platforms, do this, do that in a circus, and you go to the next one. And it was okay. I didn't quite like it. I thought I'd try out Arrow the Acrobat 2. Now this one is much better. It's more of a typical platformer. The level design's pretty good. Music's good. It plays very well. You have like this dive spin like the first one. You can like do this double fly it. Really, really good game. I was surprised how much I liked it. I think SNES Mapper, I was streaming this and he stopped and he said he had it. And he said he loved it as a kid, and I can see why. This is a great game. Not fantastic, but I think it's above average for a platformer. It's nothing like Super Mario World 2 or Super Mario World or anything like that, but it's very good. This is one that I think if you get a chance to play, you should, because it's very fun. It has some challenge in it for sure. And some parts near the end on that train ride I had to do multiple times. But it's very fun. I really enjoyed Arrow the Acrobat 2. I recommend this one over the first one. I think it's a much better game. Next up we have Grazer. This is a game. I have history with this game. This isn't my original copy. I got my Super Nintendo in November 1991. I had a birthday party specifically for it. I've raised enough money for it. Had Super Mario World with it, played that until around Christmas. And that Christmas, I got F-Zero, SimCity, and a bit later, or during that Christmas, I can't remember, I got ActRaiser. So this is a very early Super Nintendo game I had as a kid. Later on down the line, I think later in the Super Nintendo's life, maybe 95, 94, I traded ActRaiser in along with SimCity to get Final Fight 2 and maybe Magic Sword. I can't remember if I actually got that one or not. But I know I got Final Fight 2 from trading in. The one and only time I traded in games, I traded in my copy of ActRaiser and SimCity. This is a copy I got recently, or not recently, later down, maybe 2013, 14, something like that. And so I played through it again since the first time, since 91, 92, something around there. Still holds up great. It's a little worriedy near the, there's like sim parts where every time you go to do a thing, it talks and talks, and then you got to go through it. You can't skip it. You have to do it. So that's a little worried. The sim parts, I'm not really big on simulation too much, but they're action-packy enough to kind of like shooter levels, and there's nothing too difficult. They don't overstay their welcome. The side-scrolling stages are, seeing the ActRaiser side-scrolling graphics, I think they still hold up. In fact, when I first saw ActRaiser in Nintendo Power, it's one of the games that really made me excited for the Super Nintendo. That Super Castlevania 4 really stood out to me. They still look great. The controls are good. There's a little not jankiness, but you really have to know the enemy's patterns. So this ogre's going to jump up and throw a knife. This boss is going to do this. And once you do that, the controls handle perfectly. You just have to know the patterns. Much like any game, you've got to know patterns of enemies. So it breaks up that action and sim, and neither one really overstays it welcome. Once you do an action part, you're in the sim part. Once you're doing sim, you're into an action again. The soundtrack on this game is fantastic. This soundtrack is one of the best on the Super Nintendo. I'm sure lots of people agree. By Yuzo Koshiro. Amazing, amazing soundtrack. Just fantastic. And you can see I have him sign it once when at MagFest because I love this soundtrack. I wish I still had my original copy from the sign, but that's okay. ActRaiser is very good. It has a boss rush at the end, and I was dreading that because I don't generally like boss rushes, but I was able to use the magic, save my magic towards the tougher ones. The Stardust magic will wipe out like any boss pretty much. Once you beat the game, it unlocks a professional mode, and that's basically just each side-scrolling action platformer level in a row with no sim modes, and you don't have any magic, and that's it. It's a little harder. I've never actually went through that, and I would like to try that. But yeah, ActRaiser is fantastic. I don't know a way to play it. I don't know how expensive it is now. I think they just released like a reimagining of it on Switch PS4 called ActRaiser Renaissance or something, which I haven't played. But if you get a chance to play ActRaiser, it's definitely worth it. It has a good level of challenge. It's by Quintet, who did... This was their first on Super Nintendo. Then they had Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, Terranigma in Europe, which we never got here in North America. Just great developers. Next up, we have another game that I do like. I like this game a lot. I finished it before, and I wanted to play it again. One of the more beautiful games. I say this a lot, but absolutely gorgeous game on the Super Nintendo. Sounds great too. That's ActRaiser 2. That's a direct sequel to ActRaiser. Quintet did this also, published by Enix. A lot of people don't like ActRaiser 2, and I 100% see why they don't like it. This is a game you have to play and learn its mechanics. Once you do, though, you will find it's one of the best action platformers on the Super Nintendo, in that there's so much to this game. Now, it looks beautiful, sounds beautiful, so I don't want to say best, but it's up there with... It's a very good action platformer. Not the best, but it's a very good one. So there's lots of enemies everywhere. So what you want to do is always jump in the air and dive bomb them. Your dive bomb does more hit damage to them, and you're invincible while you do it. Also do a jump down slash, and you're invincible when you hit the ground. So you want to always be moving and flying in the air, because when you're flying in the air, you can do more damage. You can, but there's a problem. If you just land, you'll like slide out of control. So you kind of want to hit your jump again to cancel, so you'll just fall before you hit the ground and slide. So you have to always be jumping, and canceling your jump when you want to. So you're constantly hitting that jump button all the time, because you always want to be in the air. So the gymnastics you do with your fingers are very tight. And that's the thing that people don't like. I think once you get used to that, the game becomes very fun. I've never beaten this on anything but normal, and even then I've had to do multiple times on stages to beat it. It's very difficult, but they do give you unlimited continues. Some of the stages are gorgeous. There's a stage in like this insect farm, like insect hive, that's with just gorgeous graphics. There's a maze-like area. There's an underwater area that's just beautiful. This music is fantastic. Once you get past the control learning curve, there is a learning curve. It's very beatable because you got unlimited continues. It might take you a while, but you will beat it. ActRaiser 2 I love. I do get frustrated on some areas, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. It just means I just have to play better. So yeah, if you've heard lots of bad things about ActRaiser 2 and you've never played it, I would say don't let that scare you off on it. Give it a shot. You might actually like it like I did. Um, it's strangely addicting. They did take out the sim parts, so if you don't like the sim parts, they're not in here. But if you do like the sim parts, that's like a bad part that people don't like about this. But yeah, Quintet developed this. It's very fun. I enjoy it. Next up, we have Phantom 2040. This is a game has Metroid-like qualities, but it's so action-packed. There's enemy spawns everywhere that you're constantly firing everywhere that you can't really take the time to explore because you're always shooting, always running, always jumping, always avoiding. So it rushes you in a game where you should be exploring. And that's the biggest problem I have with this game. It's very, very open-ended. The world's huge for a Super Nintendo game. There's multiple endings, too. I think there's over, like, 20 endings or something, which is a big... I think this, like I was talking about earlier, endings that they don't tell you what to do to get the ending, like the Castlevania games on Game Boy Advance, and Blasphemous, like I said, that's a bad point for that. This one does it even worse because you constantly have to always be firing and jumping and avoiding enemies. You can't take the time to search. So I got the worst ending on this game because I didn't know. I had no idea. I was so consumed with the gameplay of jumping, running, avoiding, shooting that I couldn't take the time to look for this one thing they wanted me to. So I looked it up. You had to find this computer that was hidden underneath the building. You had to swing across, blow up this little part of a wall, and then you go in and blow up the computer, and that's how you get the best ending. But that area is so littered with enemies that you're constantly shooting and firing, and you have lives. So if you die, you have to start over. There is a password system, but that doesn't help. If you get to a point where you have 2 lives, it saves your 2 lives. So you want to get a password with lots of lives and lots of item replenishments to have a chance. I was not thrilled with this game. It has some good qualities, but I don't recommend it if you're looking for a Metroid game. There's tons, especially now, that are much better than this. But if you're curious about it, there are some good qualities about it. Like I said, the world's huge. It plays well. It's just more plays like a shooter that wants to be a Metroid game. And I don't think it does either one very well. Does the shooting better, but the Metroid stuff, with the multiple endings it has, it's very deep. But I didn't really enjoy this one as much as I thought I would. Next up, we have Super Metroid. This is the second time I went through Super Metroid. And I thought, okay, I'll just start this again, just a little bit. My friend Richard also recommended I played this again. I think when I was playing some Super Nintendo things, I said, what should I play? And he said, play Super Metroid. So I started it, and I could not put it down after I started. I was fully engrossed in it. Yeah, still great. It does have some control problems. Much like even the early Metroid, you have to kind of tap your jump and not move to jump without spinning. Then you're going to want to hold right when you jump to spin. The wall climb is still terrible in this game. I got okay at it, but it's still harder than it needs to be. But just the atmosphere and music and just the stuff you can, like, hey, I might be able to get here if I jump off the wall. This corner of the wall, I might be able to skip this part. You can do it. It's a great video game. Just fantastic. The part I don't like around the wreck ship, around there, that part is the part I don't really like that much. Right around when you get the grappling beam, but I mean it's not bad. It's just my least favorite part. The bosses are fun, huge. Crockmire, you think you beat him, and he comes back, and then he falls in the lava, the acid, and then he's like this big skeleton that comes back at you. It's a great game. If you haven't played Super Metroid, yeah, play it definitely. That's everything I beat for July and August 2021. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me talking about games here. If you'd like to see me play some more games, I do stream on YouTube regularly. Stop by and say hey. I try not to swear or get too mad, but sometimes I let that get the better of me, so I apologize if I let foul language words slip there. I try to not do that, but you know, games, if a game is good and I want to succeed at it and I keep dying, I get a little frustrated and I get kind of upset. I really get into it. So don't take that as me not liking a game. It's just, you know, sometimes I can get a little into it too much. So, okay, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, night, and month. Bye.